There once was a girl named Beatrice. Beatrice was, you could say, your typical, average Christian girl, part of an average, typical American family. She had happily married parents, plus one brother and two sisters, all of which were younger than her. She liked being the oldest. She felt smarter or more leader-like that way. It made her feel good inside. But Beatrice did not grow up in the typical manner. When she was fresh out of kindergarten, her mom decided to take her out of school and homeschool her along with her siblings to come. She was homeschooled all the way up until 8th grade, so you can imagine that she was with her siblings a lot. Most of the time, it wasn't so bad though. She got to play and imagine and do all kinds of stuff with her siblings for a lot of her time. Most of the time, it wasn't that bad though. But a good portion of the time was filled with arguments too. As the arguments ranted on, Beatrice felt very distant from her siblings. Some of the time she felt that they were acting way too young for their age, or what they were arguing about wasn't that big of a deal. She also didn't think that her siblings understood her and where she was coming from. A lot of the time, she felt she was all alone, struggling to fight her own battles. With most of the battles lost, Beatrice began to find friends in school and spend most of her time with them instead of her siblings. Not that she hated her siblings, it's just she couldn't bear to think of another moment when the ticking time bomb of screaming and yelling would begin. Because of all this, she became more secluded at home and wanted to be alone at home or while she was with friends. While she was with friends, she would put on a fake, quote-unquote, perfect family picture so that they wouldn't suspect anything or ask questions. The stress from all this was starting to build up in Beatrice's life. She tried to find things to do, like extracurricular activities to take her mind off the situation, but couldn't seem to escape the dark cloud that was looming over her and her relationship to her siblings. Even with all the fun at school, she'd still come home and feel the dread and tension of just being with her siblings. Soon, this began to affect how she was acting and doing in school. Her grades were about average, but with a little more application to the work, Beatrice could be so much better. She just never had the strength to try and do her best because of the situation at home. She was still pleasant to others too if need be, but if her friend said something just a little bit nasty or say something just the wrong way, then Beatrice would snap at them. She was sorry, of course, but home life just wasn't good, and it definitely wasn't what it had been. There was one person at home though that seemed to understand Beatrice, and that was her mom. Beatrice would talk to her mom about the fighting quite often, and a lot of the time she would say the same gentle advice or words of wisdom. Words that said that fighting with siblings was all part of growing up together, or just growing up in general. It helps each other know where the line is drawn, or when to tell someone that they're acting or doing something against the moral norm. Beatrice would always feel better after these talks. She sometimes also felt that little glimmer of hope that someday this would all be behind them and they would think nothing of it. So, Beatrice and her siblings are all grown up now. They still fight about more grown-up things and events, but they know from their mother's sound advice and from their own experiences that arguing is not really a bad thing. It's just a time to learn about others and understand where they're coming from, and what their pet peeves are, and the things that set them off. Through all the tough and stressful times, though, Beatrice has become a better, more understanding person. If not for the arguments, then she wouldn't be who she is today.